Hi everyone. I'm going to continue on with the second part of the head versus heart chat. And so my eyes might be shut for this as well. So however it flows out. But I was just going through more of it with Matthias. And it is something that just should be shared because he's not the only one, although it's on a big scale step for him. Still, you got to ground it, because whether it seems like a big life-changing or just some ground breaking for you and you have to shift, whatever level it is, we all got to come home to our hearts. And it's not it's not an old cliche love affair. Hearts, it is center of our chest. We wouldn't be here from heaven without it. It's sparking all the time with inspiration, ideas, direction, flow. And we just got to look at whether we're operating from the old ways, which this world has done, majority of the head, for that which we have known so far. We've got to realize that we're energy, heart spark based, soul led, ever expanding energy fields of awareness. So we are not what we've known so far leading the way. Yes, the brain records, understands, assists chemically, but all this functioning is still for our life on earth, supported by heavenly bodies that we are. Okay, so you can't have one without the other. And so what we've known so far is the head part. Okay, but because the journey is forever opening, no matter how much us humans like to think the head's got it sorted, we do this every day, we're this to those people, the path is always opening. You're probably not doing something you were doing 10 years ago. You might not even be in the same relationship. You could be living in a different location. You didn't know all of that. So it's part of the mystery of life and our design as energy. You can see that from a baby to an older person, we are not solid. There is something else assisting the process of life and growth. So it's just about time we wake up to that. Because we have all different head behaviors and patterns from limiting ourselves, living in our heads. So a man can act like patterns from childhood, or even a woman can act like patterns from teenager or whenever something occurred, because we're still living in the patterns. Essentially, we're letting repeat in the head instead of the bigger picture of life, to not live in those same patterns. Okay, accept they've happened, accept you're a divine energetic being and that you are here for expanding. So take the time for that constriction of I'm feeling this densely, all the emotional signs to say there's something to learn here, because we are learning beings. We are creating and learning how to create better. So you take the time with the head saying, you know, and the emotions, so the mind and emotions are saying, you're feeling this. Yes, I am. I'm feeling it. But I need to keep the expanse happening. Otherwise, I'm going to constrict, stay in those patterns. And that's where I'm going to lead myself to staying the same. Okay, there is always something to learn from our life experiences. And then we've got to slowly open up again and embrace life with that learning. So that might take incremental time periods, yes, but we must remember that's what we came for. Like the obviousness from a baby to a grown adult, we're not in control of that. So there is a bigger design. We must progress as well with what we're given, with our mind and emotions, because you are not trapped in a memory. You have a trapped feeling in your body. It might cycle through the memory. That becomes more of your energy, and you treat others that way, and you think life is that way, and that's that. This is very much head. As a human that we have all lived so far, and we do it in all the layers and all the constructs of how we control life and each other, when really, just take a breath. Seriously. And do a little bit more time with the appreciation of that fact, that that breath can open up. Well, hang on a second, and detach from the head. Okay? Because in that, and I don't care if this sounds cliche, but in that, in your true appreciation that you are not your past, that you do not know everything from the past, that you are a soul here to expand, every single one of us, this opens a space that's like wings for the heart. Okay? Because we're connected to heaven. So, and from our solar plexus rising into allowing this space, this is a higher speed, heavenly pace of light deliverance. So you can see how if we're trapped in the head knows everything, which is like a heavy anchor pulling us back somewhere. And I am talking about catch yourself at any moment, okay? Because all of life is this one thing, this one moment. So you can't just say to yourself, train yourself into, oh, that's just part-time. When I meditate, I'll clear some stuff. If you're still operating from a controlling, heavy, patterned, stuck kind of mindset, that nothing really changes because it's not the truth. So this happens all the time. Catch yourself if you're stuck or trying to keep things in a controlled way. Some things do, but we have to accept that everything really isn't a flow state. So if we want to put change in there or some air in there, like some, it doesn't have to stay this way. Why am I using my energy in such a constricted way? Then that space is opening up the truth. And if we do that more often, it's where the head would normally want to jump back in. So I'm treating the head right now as a heavy anchor. So when we anchor ourselves down, we've literally got our heads so bundled up or in patterns that it's a heavy anchor. So when we do stop, catch ourselves, create habits and awareness, observation, patterns, now all the time, so it does at first feel like a full-time role just to keep in touch with yourself before you go putting something out into the world in a conversation, in your self-talk, self-direction in your life, or a bigger picture. You're on the path of lightening up with the head use, and you can literally put it to the side, not have it anchor you down, and allow the space without that efforting control. Now, just be wary as you do accept that this is an ongoing, regular, this is life, step by step, breath by breath. We are guiding our energy field, our sphere as a part of this world and beyond, connected to help. When I say beyond, it's not far away out there. We're connected, but it just seems like beyond because we can't all see our guidance, which is another aspect of reminding us that we're here for a temporary experience, because if we could see all of our guidance, what would be the experience for us? You know, we actually have to go within, drop the heavy patterns, and you do feel like you have space to expand. So be wise in, you know, what you want to, like your wings want to, what do I want to expand for myself, you know? And you're using yourself all the time in this way. And the head gets involved, as it should, as a part of it all. We don't live without it. With some, the heart lets the head in, and because the head says, I know how to do that. So the heart goes, yeah, it does. All right. This is quick. Yeah, it does. Okay, so yeah, we can do things that way for this part, but the heart is holding the space for the creation. So again, the head can come up and go, it knows how to do it before you even think. Your heart's like, yep, I know how to do this. It's the head. Yep, done it before, or well aware, or whatever. But it's when the head becomes a controlling, heavier, bodily felt, natured response. That's when we know the head is starting to lead the heart's path. And the heart doesn't feel good. You go down in vibration. Life becomes more work and heavy. Okay, so there needs to be that balance, and it's always the heart comes first. Before we have brain or thought function for the human vessel, we have the heart spark, the spark of life. Okay, so that's the whole picture of us, not what we've learned so far as we come into conscious awareness, becoming humans, and all the patterning involved in the life experience. You can look at that as though that's my tapestry so far, but how much more do I know now, and how much lighter and wider does my painting, which is unlimited, my endless creating, feel, look, sound, hear, touch now? I'm not limiting myself to some senses where I have self-talk that says, I can't do much and I can't have much, or anything like this. If we go to the extremes of what the head can tell us to repeat. So we really are feeling beings. That's of a light nature. So if you're not feeling into the lightness of your own directions in life, like your callings, and you're just maybe coming into recognition of them, it's the nature of how you feel that you should trust. So if you're feeling heavy in life, you have to sort of resign. I feel this way. Take time out and let the inner world rise. Okay, because between heaven and earth, we are being supported. And if we resign the heavy, we will feel the difference in the moments we resign the heavy. If we can't work stuff out of our heads, it means we're not actually listening to our gut. We're not receiving our flow, heaven and earth back up to assist our expression. So we have to resign the heavy. We'll just take a moment now and see if I've covered everything I want to cover. We're just so amazing, really. If you have an observation to sit back and see things differently, that we have been living in limited basis of awareness and functioning of ourself, and therefore our creations so far. Oh yeah, they've been good. Like, we can have some sprouting up of great ideas and expressions and sharing things, but we've still been living in a limited framework, and our minds go to satisfying it. So even as you could feel that statement sort of come to a halt, that's where the hearts have been feeling passive, and the gut solar plexus not rising back up into the heart because no one's doing it at great length in this framework. So it's good to get clarity on how the heaviness of our experience so far, that's kind of all we refer to. We don't actually lighten up into the messages we can research for, like a jumping off platform, because that's what it feels like into that air of living your higher intelligence, your connection to the whole, to the more. It's like, it feels so good now that I know not to hold myself down with my head, or that the world's patterning has accepted that and medicated it. It feels so good to branch out into the truth of who I am. And in this world, that takes bravery somewhat, because we feel it so heavily in our body, like, I'm doing something different up here, but I still feel the heaviness of the past. Yeah, keep being brave, because you're a sprout into a bloom, into a flower, into a branch. And when you look at it as souls, massive freaking trees back here again. You know, so we've been here before. We have root systems here. So we are more than letting our heads anchor us down. And that's how we are amazing, unfolding, forever branching, creating, sitting out on the limb of the tree for a while, in that creation, noticing something, you know, in another part of your soul that's coming online from being on this planet. I might go up. I feel like there's more to create in that part. You know? Amazing. And it's nearly like you're sitting out here on this limb doing stuff for a while, but naturally you're getting a gut between the solar plexus and the chest, something speaking to you, and you let it rise up. That's how amazing we are. That we're souls. And we've created really well in this material world, so much so that we're consumed by it, that we actually think we live and breathe consumption, like that we are one with that. And it's time for more of the detach from the trunk of what we've known into letting something else speak when we're instigated in this world to do something else. So you're out on the limb on this branch for a while. You take moments with yourself, and your gut and your heart are speaking, and there's like these sparks. You kind of look into the distance of branches your soul has known. So metaphorically, your heart is sort of rising, and you're thinking of, what else could I do to do with that? And it is the heart and the third eye sparkle. You feel it, you want to create something different. So you appreciate the feeling. You admire the fact you feel the stirring of creation. And you let yourself rise up. And then if any, and normally the person would, but if any other heaviness of someone else's physical field appears in your field and says hands on hips or arms crossed, just look at it like, I'll listen to you, but this is very old world. This is very heavy. You can't step into my light after I've just experienced this within myself and tell me, you can't do that. Because that's the old world and the new conscious awareness of the truth. When seriously, all of us can open up to whatever we want, and who the hell is anyone to heavily stop? Okay? Heavenly, not heavily. We are heavenly expanding beings, not heavily densification. Thank you very much. And so I think I'll finish shortly at the half-an-hour mark, because I can feel something else coming on to say. And so we'll just take a pause with all I've said already. And I'd like to cut electrical magnetic currents with Matthias De Stefano right now, because he likes to use the light of the screen and any other electricity to slow down my happily rising functioning. Because he autopilots from the head of his own functioning. Like he decides, like what I was just describing to you, he's probably taking that personal because he's triggered by it, because he does do it. And now he's just done it to me again. So it's like, when does someone get out of the old patterning and see that you actually sabotage your own path by continuing like old patterning? And behind that is like a guilt or a held back feeling or a I'm not good enough. And it's like, stop telling yourself that. That's the head. If something feels controlling you, okay, we have choice, choose different. No one is telling you that you shouldn't feel good enough. You should feel, take something personal and feel a guilt response, or anything else. So shifts can happen when you tell yourself, I don't have to think that. Okay? But the body still wants to believe that it's right. It agrees with the mind. Yeah, it can feel the resonance, so it's like an identification because they've been thinking it long enough. I'm not good enough. I'll just keep doing that same thing then, like an antagonistic, I'll just throw it out then. You know, that triggering instead of, well, initially at the core, you got something that you believe in that's not essentially true. All right? Because when I was describing someone else, I've lived 49 years. Plenty of people have come into my space trying to tell me, like many others on the planet, I'm not on my own in this, that you can't do what you want to do, even if it's heartfelt and you really want to do it. We all have to go through that challenge. No, Matthias, I wasn't pinpointing you wanting to go back into your own guilt or whatever, not good enough, for you to antagonize further on your path and not get anywhere. Okay, so stop and switch to, I'm free. It's not what Teresa's saying about anything. It's how do I feel in the moment, and am I honest with me? And if you are honest with yourself, day and night you get messages to be with me. And you're still stuffing around in other stuff of a heavier nature that goes plonk. Instead of heart expression free. Because for a while now, you've been triggered because you don't leave that 3D head reality into, I'm free to make my own decisions and live this way. So instead, you're getting triggered by everything when you can feel free. And then there's a whole other element to that, because that's the shift for someone's life and consciousness at the same time, into accepting that's your direction into the free, not into the continual triggering, which is not me triggering, but you are triggered doing the same things. So you enforce your own cycle. So I just needed to explain that because that's what I would do off camera, but timing had it in its repeat, exactly what I'm talking about. And so there was something I wanted to finish with before, until, you know, but I will leave it at the 30-minute mark. And I think we'll just allow grounding of whatever you've received and carry on with our being. And as I ponder and sit and allow wonderment flow, essentially unblocked, I'll be back if there's something I truly needed to speak. God bless everyone. I hope you're having a good morning, day or night, and enjoying that Scorpio full moon for really clearing and cleaning up what's not necessary for us to continue. God bless. Peace out for now.